Well, we used to know that family, but the whole family went crazy.
Welcome to today's Crazy America podcast. If you're new here, folks, then Crazy America is a chronicle of the everyday mayhem and madness across our great land. So take a moment, press the subscribe button below, and sign up for our regular updates. Now, today, we're going to talk about a story that really captured the imagination of the whole country. That was last Christmas. By now, we're all familiar with the phenomenon of Karens. Karens, for the uninitiated, and there can't be many of them right now, are the bossy, usually middle-aged women that tell people what to do and how to act. And often they're the people that are enforcing the rules, that annoying woman that's telling you you're breaking the rules. And so, as a lot of us know, the Karens, they really had a moment in 2020. Many of them shot to fame, or should we say infamy. We had Central Park Karen, we had Permit Karen, and I guess countless other Karens. But the Karen story that arguably got more attention than any of the others was that of, folks, if you remember, SoHo Karen. And she was actually a bit young to be a Karen. So SoHo Karen is actually a 22-year-old. Her real name is Miya Ponsetto. And back in December last year, perhaps she became perhaps the most hated woman in America when she was caught on video berating and assaulting a young black teenager, name of Keyon Harrold Jr. And all of this took place in a very posh, a fancy, Manhattan hotel, which is why she got the moniker SoHo Karen. And it became very catchy. We saw it really take off on social media. There were countless stories done. She did sit-downs with Gayle King over at CBS. So she was big news. Anyway, it went quiet for a little bit. But the reason the story really blew up back at Christmas was that she was accused she accused the 14-year-old kid of stealing her iPhone, and she really just freaked out on the poor kid. Turns out she'd lost the phone in an Uber, and the Uber driver brought it back. But anyway, that wasn't the end of the story because, as you know, the video went viral. This woman became the most hated woman in America, and eventually the New York prosecutors hit her with a lot of charges. We hadn't heard anything about it in quite a while, but a few days ago, there was a major development. And here, as usual, I'm joined by Ollie Sibley, who can tell us more. What can you tell us, Ollie?
Well, Reese, like you say, this is definitely one that's captured the public imagination. So this young lady initially was charged with robbery, I think grand larceny, and also attempted assault. But the New York prosecutors weren't willing to stop there, and these are the prosecutors led by the outgoing DA, Cy Vance. So last week they slapped her with a new hate crime charge. Now, the family of the teen whom Ponsetto accused and assaulted have always maintained that the reason she did this was because he was black. And New York's mayor, good old Bill de Blasio, Comrade Bill, as some folks like to call him, said at the time of that incident that this was, I quote, racism pure and simple. But it's fair to point out that Ponsetto has always denied any racial motivation. In fact, she herself claims to be a woman of colour because of her Puerto Rican heritage. And so after the hate crime charge was announced, Ponsetto's lawyer fired right back. He described the charge as a perversion of justice and denounced DA Vance in pretty strong terms.
So, Ollie, I suppose that's very interesting. The question is, how on earth can Vance prove these hate crime charges, right? Those are the kind of charges we all know they can be very hard to prove. So most people looking at this from the outside would say this, right? Was this young lady's behavior aggressive? Was it offensive? Was it, in fact, completely uncalled for? The answer is obviously yes. It's absolutely yes. When you watch the video, it was ugly, it was entitled, Look, it was absolutely despicable, Ollie. I don't think anyone would dispute that. But the question is this: if you're going to bring hate charges, did this lady, did Miya Ponsetto behave in a way that specifically targeted the teen solely because of his appearance, which is essentially what you're saying with a hate crime charge? And I think that's going to be the tricky thing. What do you think, Ollie?
Well, that's exactly the question that is being asked. And, let's look at this in another way, Reese. If this had been a white kid standing in that swanky hotel lobby in Soho, would Soho Karen have refrained from her abhorrent behaviour? Would she have held back? Would she have merely politely inquired as to the whereabouts of her device? Or is she really just an unpleasant person, no matter who she's dealing with, no matter what they look like? So far, we haven't seen any evidence that this kid was targeted because of his skin colour. But that doesn't mean, of course, that that evidence doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's right, Ollie. I mean, whether you like him or loathe him, District Attorney Cy Vance, he's a canny old geezer, isn't he? He's a veteran prosecutor. He's been around a long time. He may well have, and his team of assistant DAs, the other prosecutors, they may well have something up their sleeves. And if they don't, they could end up looking pretty silly when this comes to court. At any rate, Soho Karen will, folks, have her day in court. And we will find out exactly how this unfolds and whether those charges stand up. And we will bring that news right to you. And America, as well as Crazy America, is sure to be following along closely when that happens. Well, that's all we have time for today, folks. But do be sure to hit that subscribe button, and Crazy America will be back again very soon.